Evie. Melissa, tell us what you said after Tahis just told us about her father raping her.
I don't know what inspired me to say it because it's a very private matter. I just recently ended up reconciling with my family because of it. But I'm a survivor of incest. I was never raped by my father, but he visited me frequently, as he did my sister and my niece. And after I reconciled with my brothers, I found out that his sickness, extended to little boys as well. So it was a very difficult childhood and upbringing. But through it all, even though both of my parents have passed, I've found forgiveness for the same reasons Tahis did. It was more because the scriptures led me that in my own salvation, should I want Christ to forgive me, then I would need to forgive others. And it's unconditional. And I just wish that my parents had lived long enough to hear me say it.
You said that you had been estranged from your family, and that the funeral of your ex-husband actually brought all of you guys together. And what did they tell you?
They just said that it was time to put it all aside, that there needed to be healing.
And you didn't know at that time that they actually had the same experience that you did.
No, I think my oldest brother, who's quite a bit older than I am, I think he was the only one who was able to, leave the home before my father started deteriorating. And so he's been the matriarch of the family, kind of brought us all together and shared some things with me about my siblings and kind of helped me, counseled me through this. So it was very rewarding.
Well, tell us what made you decide to go ahead and but to go ahead and forgive all that had happened to you.
Well, my ex-husband died suddenly, and during that marriage, we had actually separated and filed for a divorce when I found out I was pregnant with our second child. And it was, we were both very, very young, and I couldn't keep the child. So we had placed her up for adoption. It was an open adoption, and so during that marriage and finding out that I was pregnant again, knowing that the divorce was imminent, we'd already filed, I had placed my daughter up for adoption, and I carried her nearly to 7 months before the adoptive family notified my adoption counselor and told them that they preferred to adopt in-state, and they were in the state of Washington. And my son was blonde hair and blue-eyed, and the mother of the adopted family was an Asian woman who really felt that she'd have difficulty bonding with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl, that they backed out of the adoption. And so abortion was not even an issue, and I prayed so hard for God to help me with that decision, because I really didn't want to abort the child, but I really didn't think that I could keep her, because I was going through the middle of this divorce and I could barely afford the child that I had. It was just such a traumatic situation. And then my mom came to me and told me not to worry, that she would help me. That my sister had had her child out of wedlock and put it up for adoption, and they had to run back and rescue it before it was final, and that there's no reason why I should have to do that, that they would accept the child. So it was a very difficult and horrible and ugly time in my marriage, and my ex-husband had just passed away, and I had never forgiven him for putting me through that, because even after I had her, he denied paternity, and we had to go to court, and I had to do the paternity test. It was absolutely horrible, and he died suddenly, and we'd never discussed it, and I'd never forgiven him for it. So at the funeral, when my brother came to me and said, "It needs to stop, we need to heal, we need to reconcile," I was so broken at that point that it was the easiest thing for me to do, was just to say okay, because I just didn't think I could go on with all this unforgiveness in my heart. It was just killing me. So we sat down and we talked, and that's when my brother told me that he was aware of the fact that my father had been abusing me and my sister, and possibly my brothers. He didn't want to speak for them. And we just sat and we cried, and I had been estranged from my family for a very long time, and I missed them. And it was the perfect opportunity just to let it all go and give it to God and just say it's not mine anymore. That I forgive them. It's okay, because even though I had struggled with the idea of having another child, there's not a day that goes by in my life that I don't love her. She's beautiful. She just got engaged. She's going to college. She's just amazing and just so beautiful. And there's not one day I regret the adoption falling through. And not one day, even though I struggled a little bit, not one day I regret keeping her and not trying to find another adoptive family. And she's just a blessing. She's my best friend. She calls me every day. She emails me proms, homecomings. I can't wait for her to have a child. It's been such a blessing from God. And I know that it was perfect for God, because he knew if he hadn't found me an adoption solution, I might have struggled with abortion. But he pulled that family out at just the right time when there was no other choices for me, and it was except for the choice I was supposed to make, and that was to keep my child. And she's amazing, and she's beautiful, and she knows that she was being placed for adoption, and she knows the adoption fell through, and she is just so grateful and thankful to God that she got to stay with me. She calls me her perfect mom.
Awesome.